Welcome to the First Issue Club. We're your weekly comic book podcast. We're just like Sue Storm. We love a good read. Here we are to talk about comic book news and first issues to onboard you into the wonderful world of comics or welcome you back. How long has it been for you? What, like a week? Welcome back! It's exciting to be back. Has it been longer? Are you wondering, did you get on Reddit this past week and say, oh, I found like this Cable #1 and I have this X-Force #1. Should I get these slabbed? No, you shouldn't get them slabbed, homie. But it was a sign that you're ready to bring comic books back into your life and read them. Not entomb your old ratty comics. Read them again, my friend. We'll be your guide in that adventure to rediscovering the love of your life. Not your spouse or your partner, but your comic books. I'm Mike D, and these guys are.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Vargas.
I just wanted to interject real quick.
Yeah.
Based upon that beautiful intro that you just did, Andy, I think we can agree that was a beautiful, great intro.
Oh,
it was wonderful.
Wow.
Is there a money-making opportunity for First Issue Club or someone else who's maybe a little smarter to make an app where someone could take a picture of a comic book and it just says, oh, you should slap that, or oh no, you shouldn't slap that, just so you don't have to muck up Reddit or, disturb Google. It's just a quick picture and the app will be like, boop, 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 boop. Nope, you shouldn't slap that.
I'll tell you what, I wish on Reddit there was a bot that anytime somebody was like, what do you guys think about slabbing?
Mm-hmm.
That
it would delete their account.
Yeah, right. It just auto responds the one take everyone ultimately boils down to, and then just like locks it.
The post should be deleted, and then the bot DMs them and be like, "Hey, you know what? We've covered this, so here's the general answer." Ding
so
dong.
Sick of that discourse. It's just like, enjoy the hobby however you want to enjoy it. That's my recommendation to you, my friend.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of sites that kind of tell you the value of things, and like slabbed versus like unslabbed comics. We're saying slabbed, we mean graded comic books if you're a new listener.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People just don't bother to find that stuff out themselves. Or here's another thing is that you have a lot of people that find comic books and just don't understand the whole idea behind grading.
Right.
That you see anytime you Google the value of a comic, it's always the highest it's ever sold for is what you see. And then you're like, shit, I'm rich.
Yeah. You're better off taking it to your local comic book shop and just selling it.
Donating it.
Yeah, like
honest. Most of the time, they're doing you a favor by taking stuff off your hands.
I can't imagine the hassle of trying to sell any of my comic books. It just seems like if I ever sold it on eBay, I'd be like, "Can you just come pick it up from my house? Like, this is stupid. Like, I'll just give you your money back. This was a dumb experiment."
That's what I was going to say. The bot can just be a thing that says, if you have to ask this question, no, don't slab it. It's not worth anything. Right? Like,
and also the bot should follow up with like, okay, it is. Are you gonna do it? Like, that's another adventure on its own. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, you should slab it. What are you gonna do with it? Yeah. Who do you send it to? Like, that question you're asking leads to 15 more questions.
True. Yeah.
Just throw away the book. Save yourself some hassle and throw it away.
I got into a good back and forth with some people on Reddit earlier in the week.
That rarely happens.
Somebody had posted a copy of like Grant Morrison's last issue of his X-Men run.
Mm-hmm.
And which is normally like, if you have it slabbed in a 9.8, it's like a $40 book. It's like, there's nothing historical that happens in it that would validate it selling for a lot of money. And someone had one online that was like already bid up to like $250 with like plenty of time left. Right. And the conversation that started happening was people are starting to try to game these tools now that tell you how much something is worth.
Mm-hmm.
Because if something doesn't sell for a while, you can grade a bunch of copies or like hoard a bunch of like inventory surrounding it.
Yeah.
Buy one from yourself and then people see the value of that book skyrocket and say, what is it to this? Like, it gets featured in articles that say this comic is heating up, and people are reminded of it, and then they go look for it, and someone is selling it on eBay for $50 less than that huge sale just sold for, but you're still overpaying for it by $150, $200 because someone has, again, gamed the value of it by playing the algorithm.
Yeah.
I would say just know that those algorithms aren't always completely reliable if that's how you're checking the value of your comic books too.
And
So-
you know who that primarily tricks? Idiots. And people who don't know what they're doing. And they're the most precious of us in the community that
That's
need to
true.
be protected.
We love our idiots. No, you're not dummies. You're just new to the
You're
new
naive.
to the hobby. Yeah. You haven't been bittered by years of being cheated.
And you haven't been so rooted in the community that it just seems harder to even get out of it now. So you might as well just stay in and bitch. And that's where we're at right now.
That's right.
We can't give up on comic books. We have a whole fucking show about it.
We like to be your generally positive escape hatch for the otherwise hissy world of comics online. This is your, as the thumbnail for the show says, we try to be your safe space for comic fans and beam some positivity into your comic book lives. And hey, what's a great way to start feeling positive? Responsibly, if you're 21 years old, is to have a little bit of Space Camper Cosmic IPA, lovingly brought to you by the folks at Boulevard Brewing Company, based out of our very own Kansas City. Great hoppy IPA with a bunch of varieties and flavors. If you're a baseball fan, we just had Space Camper Day at the Kansas City Royals. They opened this huge new outdoor bar section that has a bunch of different craft beers and predominantly features a lot of the Space Camper family of beers. So big part of our city, big part of our podcast. Thank you, Boulevard, for making our show possible.
And truly, it is lovingly. They drop us beer every month, and every time they do so, it's surrounded in dozens of roses, fragrant perfumes, some very risque love notes put in there. It really is a love affair for the ages. So, like Mike T said, Boulevard, thank you so much. We love you. We're in love with you.
Yes.
And if you're over the age of 21, please enjoy responsibly.
Enjoy your throuple with Boulevard.
Mm-hmm. It's the only orgy that I do.
All right, let's talk about some comic book news on the Patreon today. If you want more than this episode can muster, Andy had a fun game for us, and then we talked about the selling of the Jock cover art that was colossally expensive. So go over there if you want to hear what we think about some of that discourse. Andy's game was really fun. It was kind of like what your favorite absolute DC book says about you.
The King of Bits strikes again.
We kind of had our fortunes told based on our favorite DC absolute book. Got told which type of bro or gal we were. That was fun.
What type of folk you are.
What type of folk? That's what I was looking for. Okay. News. I want to, first and foremost, I want to bring up this Hellfire Vigil comic book.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with it? Heard of this?
I know that it happens once a year now, since Jonathan Hickman did his inaugural one, right? Is that right?
Yeah, you know what was weird about it? So this one was kind of like a R.I.P. Krakoa sort of thing.
A lot of RIPs this week.
I know. But one of the thing that struck me as odd about it was like, it's already been a while since we've seen the Krakoan era go away.
Mm-hmm.
Krakoa is technically still alive, I think, right? Krakoa is like a living island that the X-Men lived on.
Yeah, they just all jumped off the island, right?
They just don't live
destroyed.
They just don't live there anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Like what I was reading exactly was a little lost on me. They also had like a bunch of different creative teams writing different portions of it. and that made it like a little hard to follow. It wasn't broken up into mini stories like an annual was. It was just like this creative team write 5 pages and then this creative team write 5 pages. So it was kind of like Frankenstein together from different creative teams. Generally, I feel like people are mediocre on this book. However, it's made headlines for one reason in particular, which is the fact that it kind of brings up this potential future wherein Storm has a daughter. And we see a look into the future, meet that character, and then see that character kind of get held hostage. So Storm will do some work for Destiny, I think, like the entity of Destiny.
Is this kind of the thing I saw that was going on with Storm and Black Panther this week too?
Well, I think a lot of people are just curious who the baby's daddy would be.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know. That like was not revealed to us. So there will be a potential reveal at some point, but because Storm's longest standing most popular relationship is with T'Challa, a lot of people are assuming that it's going to be their child.
Interesting.
If this future ever happens. But interesting storyline that a character like Destiny would hold Storm's future hostage so that she would do her bidding. So I enjoyed the comic just for that. But that's your X-Men news for the week.
That's your X-Men Minute with Mike D.
Gotta do it. I gotta get all this X stuff out of my system.
Gotta get the X out.
If I can't vent it here, then where?
Make the X exit. Well, you said R.I.P. to the Hellfire thing earlier, and we would be remiss if we didn't mention that Jim Shooter passed away earlier this week. Jim Shooter famously worked for Valiant Comic Books and Marvel Comic Books, both as a writer and editorial. A controversial figure, and also a pioneer for the comic book medium at large. It's interesting what you will read about him now. There is some really great stuff, and then there's some really not great stuff. But I think, in retrospect, everything can be viewed in a different light. But I think what is most important to remember is that he was a champion for comic books and was most of the time a pretty good dude, unless you worked for him, and then he was a tyrant. Which, I mean, I was talking to my buddy Chris Hacker from Oblivion Bar Pod, and he kind of gave some good perspective of just like, okay, who wasn't back then? It's like, okay, well, fuck you, Chris, for making a good point when I'm trying to vent. But I mean, no one made it out of that era looking
unscathed,
all too good. He said maybe Ditko, maybe Steve Ditko made it out looking pretty good, but everyone else, not so much.
Was lucky enough during my comic collecting career to have met him at cons and had a couple things signed in person by him. And I was telling some of the people on the Discord this past week that a guy in front of me brought a stack of comics a mile high, and he was one of those guys that later at cons, even at his age that he would just sit there and sign every last book for free for people. And that's always cool to see. And somebody who's like an editor, it's like you could sign almost anything.
Everything. That's why Roy Thomas can sign anything. He's just like, I fucking created that.
Yeah, I can't tell you. There was 1 year I got my All-Star Squadron Secret Origin of Dr. Fate, a cover that I like absolutely love, like an OG McFarlane cover, and a great story by Roy Thomas. And it's I just had the one issue, and there were guys, his line was short at the time, but there were guys with like 2 short boxes stacked high that just kept going back through the line over and over and over again.
Right.
Getting 5. His limit is 5 at a time to keep his line moving. But these like 5
He's the
guys
original Scotty Young.
Yeah, right. these 5 guys just kept going through over and over and over again, and bless the guy's heart. You can say what you will about that guy too, but
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he created a lot of incredible comics, edited over a handful of like amazing epic classic series, and at cons was an awesome dude who was down to chit chat and sign a lot of books for often just for a donation to an optional donation to like Heroes Con or what was it called? What the Hero Initiative?
Heroes
right?
Initiative. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So anyway, rest in peace, Jim Shooter. Unconfirmed that he was 8 feet tall, but he was a gigantic human being. What else? There was something else, Andy, that we wanted to talk about. Oh, Diamond and Dynamite. It wouldn't be a
Yeah.
comic book show if we didn't talk about Diamond.
Well, the only thing I really feel the only thing that feels worth mentioning is that the ongoing Diamond distribution stuff's going on, but apparently, because Diamond owes Dynamite literally $1 million, Dynamite can't make payroll this week. So
Oh, that sucks.
it's
That
going to
also
be.
seems like a Dynamite problem.
I mean,
$1 million.
Is it a Dynamite problem?
That's a lot of
Okay.
collateral to hold
They
hostage.
did, yeah, but Diamond didn't borrow $1 million from Dynamite last week and said, "Oh, I'll pay you back in a week." Like this has been over many years, so like Dynamite could have, scaled back on incentive covers or something to kind of like face the brunt of this.
The incentive covers might be a necessary evil that's like keeping them afloat.
And
'Cause
Diamond's just not delivering them.
a lot of them are like open order almost at this point that you
Mm-hmm.
can just like people are just buy. Like when I go to like pre-order comics, it's like pre-order cover Y. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times you don't get access to like more than like an A and a B or C cover until people understand what ratios are coming out. Whereas Dynamite is just like A through double Z.
It's gonna be black and white.
Yeah, have at it. Yeah, we're gonna do different colorways of every single cover 10 times over.
But also, like, where was Dynamite 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago? Of just like, oh shit! Like, has anyone looked ahead? We do not have enough money for a payroll next month. Like, that's just poor planning. Unless you're like bouncing checks to pay the light bill over at Dynamite, this just it seems like stupid financial planning on their end.
I don't know, man.
And it also seems like they're just blaming Dynamite for a problem that Dynamite already knew was going to happen. Like, were your employees warned a few weeks ago? They're just like, hey, unless we don't get this milli, we're not making payroll.
Oh, that's you're saying their Dynamite had a responsibility to share this with their staff.
Yeah, obviously
ahead of time. Okay,
Yeah.
and that do we know for sure that didn't happen?
Well,
that
if this
they
is the
weren't,
first
like-
we're hearing about it, you would have assumed people who worked for Dynamite would have been all over the internet, just like, "Hey, my boss says that he can't pay me. By the way, I
Yeah.
work for Dynamite. How you doing?" Like it is fucking irresponsible for Dynamite to be like going around on the news circuit and be like, "Hey, guess what? Next week we can't pay our customers or pay our employees. Oopsie daisy." And was that supposed to like motivate Diamond to suddenly give him $1 million? I don't buy it.
I'll say
I
is
don't buy it.
I feel bad for all parties involved, and I don't know what exactly the nuances of the situation were, but it's we don't want to see another publisher bite the dust. So hopefully that gets sorted and keeps them afloat sooner rather than later.
Greg shakes his head no. He wants to see Dynamite fail.
Oh, they've already failed, big guy. Dynamite has failed.
What happened to this being the positivity podcast?
Hey, I'm positive. I'm positive that they fail.
Oh, poor Dynamite.
Moving on.
Any other news, fellas?
Well, there's a big
Or-
spoiler for Ironheart that we can get into, but we shouldn't.
No,
yeah,
don't. I haven't watched it.
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we avoid that since it's so fresh. Have you watched all 6 episodes, Greg?
Yeah, but here's the fun thing I liked about Ironheart and their episode drops. They did them in like chunks.
Yeah,
It was kind of refreshing.
I really enjoyed that as well. I think we can talk about this in just like in general terms without
Mhm.
giving away anything about the show itself.
Mhm.
But I do think the first 2 episodes were slow.
Sure.
And that might have been a reason why they were like, yo, we need to release 3 episodes at a time. But being able to binge those was so much better than like the piecemealing they do. Like to me, it seems like a lot of the shows that they have, aside from like She-Hulk,
Mhm.
were basically movies that got like sliced into
Yeah.
a
Wasn't
TV
Ironheart
show.
originally supposed to be a movie?
It felt like a movie that got cut into pieces, like just like the pacing of it and things
Mhm.
like that. Like
Mhm.
it seems like it at one part was could have been a movie. Just the build of it, like I kind of wanted the 3rd episode stuff to happen in like the 2nd act of the 1st
Right.
episode.
Right.
Like, can we skip some of the like catching you up backstory stuff and just like throw us in the deep end with
Mhm.
some of it? Like would have, and it would have been like, oh my god, what an amazing debut episode. All that sounds like we're ragging on it, but generally I liked the show. I thought like there was
Yeah.
a handful of characters and actors in it that I really enjoyed.
Mhm.
And the stakes just continued to kind of escalate, and it started dropping some like fun Marvel lore and involving other corners of
Yeah.
the Marvel universe that I wasn't expecting for that show. So, a very, I think people need to go into it thinking like mostly breezy watch.
Mhm.
That a lot of times our expectations for all these Marvel things are like, it's going to be huge and epic. And sometimes they're like, we've said a million times that a lot of these are very genre and they're doing a specific thing in their own lane. And this one is kind of like it has the tonality of like a younger show, but
Right.
then it starts tackling more mature subject matter. So it's also kind of an interesting mix in that regard, that it has the things that you like about, I'm trying to think of a good example show, kind of like some Buffy-esque drama in it,
Mhm.
but then like there's some more real world implications that you're just like, oh shit, that's that's kind of heavy for where I thought the show was.
It's kind of
And
like
that hit
the
me.
Runaways on Hulu. You know what I mean? Just like
Sure.
it's a digestible, kind of feels like a Saturday afternoon TV show for teens
Yeah.
and young 20 somethings. It's hip. It's like there's some magic and some like cool shit happening. There's some fun Easter eggs and lore, like you said. It's just like it's kind of like a breath of fresh air of just like it's not completely detached from the other Marvel stuff, but it is its own thing. Like
Yeah.
you can just enjoy it as that.
But yeah, the way they parsed it out was perfect for what it was.
Mhm.
I would say to anyone who hasn't watched it yet, set aside an hour and a half of your time like you were going to watch a movie
Mhm.
and binge 3 episodes at a time. That's the best way to watch it.
That's a FIC recommendation.
Yep. All right, that's our piece on Ironheart.
Yeah. Nailed
Those
it.
are that's the thumbs up sound effect.
And when she turned into Throg at the end, that was crazy. Oh, sorry, Andy. Oh, dang it.
Damn it!
Ruined the Throg spoiler. She was dupe the whole time.
She was duped the whole.
Okay, real quick, final segment. What is the percentage that we will ever see dupe in a Marvel cinematic thing.
100%.
I think it's very high.
Wow.
Dupe
I
Dupe
wasn't
will
expecting
show
that.
up 100%.
They haven't even touched X-Men stuff yet. And here's my expectation is that
Ha.
while a lot of
Andy, we're so stupid.
while a lot of the MCU stuff is maybe having a harder time at the box office, people are going to go out in droves to see X-Men stuff.
Mhm.
And I think we're going to see more mutant X-Men type movies than we see general
Yep.
MCU type movies for a minute once they kind of enter that realm or threshold of the MCU. And once they find all that success there, you're going to be able to do like weirder stuff. Like what's like the next the Guardians of the Galaxy of like the next implementation
Mm-hmm.
of the MCU could be like X-Force or X-Statics or like
Yeah.
some funkier corner of X-Men, X-Factor.
I want an X-Force TV show like tomorrow.
There's no way X-Force the movie isn't being planned. The same way there's no way that like
Well, yeah, it's like the fucking Expendables. Like it's such an easy movie to make.
X-Statics is going to be a Disney Plus show for sure. Because that's the one that like
X-Factor
they were filming a TV show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a reality show.
Right? Like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Just make the Mojoverse saga a TV show.
Okay, now you're talking.
Get really
that's
meta
an awesome
with that
idea. Yeah.
Have they done? Did they do Mojo in one of the cartoons already?
Not 97, right?
No, he showed up, right? In the TV show?
In the
old
TV,
TV
like
show?
maybe in the 90s he did.
Oh, maybe in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because he did get an action figure from the Toy Biz stuff. So that means he was
Mojo's
in a TV show.
Such a good character.
He's such an amazing character.
Yeah.
You have Paul F. Tompkins voice him, and you're good to go. That or Casey Kasem.
How about a throwback Gen X book? Or, I mean, show. Like, it would be awesome to have, like, an early 90s grunge era Jubilee Skin, all those people.
I honestly think...
Chamber,
yeah. That would be sick.
I honestly think Jubilee should be the through line for this generation of X-Men. Like, she's the younger person of the show. Like, you can throw in your Cyclops and your Wolverine, of course, and all the, like, legacy characters. But, like, I feel like we should be following a younger team member. And maybe that's just me as, like, an older fan seeing it from older eyes and, like, not from, like, a producer's or director's eyes. But I think a younger version would be the best, right?
You kind of wonder how the popularity of like Marvel Rivals and Marvel Snap has like brought a couple characters you didn't expect more to like the general nerd fandom consciousness. Like the amount of people you see now cosplaying as Magic. Like nobody used to cosplay as Magic in the last 2 years. It's like every con you go to, there's like 20 people dressed as Magic.
You know who's been in every new Marvel app or game or whatever that I am like kind of shocked?
The Shark.
Mr. Negative.
Oh,
the Spider-Man villain. Like, so they must be cooking something with that dude.
I said it on my solo episode 2 weeks ago. If you're not out there purchasing your ASM 672 or whatever it is.
Yeah, what is it?
Like,
the Brand New Day episode issue.
It's the first issue of Brand New Day and the first appearance of Mr. Negative. Like, that book's gonna explode any day.
Okay. You heard it here first.
My copy of that is beat to all hell. I have this era of comics where I was like...
Mike just kept punching it. He was so angry.
So I had no money and was just like, do I buy Bags and Boards or do I buy 3 other comic books? Yeah. You have it really on hand. I can't believe how close you had it.
546. Well, I've got the pile of
546,
books that I
okay.
talked about 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, okay,
He
nice.
owns
Yeah.
like 50 of them. He's waiting for them to pop off on eBay.
Yeah.
He's the one fucking with the algorithm.
I've been thinking about it's crazy how much like recent Marvel key issues sell for, all because of the MCU stuff. And you got to wonder, I'm starting to have a panic about all the DC key books I wish I had,
Mhm.
and how I should have swooped up some of them over the last handful of years before all this like James Gunn stuff happened, because it's looking, even before the first big movie comes out with Superman that's going to like unfold all of this stuff, it's already appearing to be like a successful massive hit that is going to take, a lot of attention away from some of the MCU stuff happening.
Yeah, you
And
really
it's
missed your chance to buy an Action #1, Mike D.
Fucking Rube.
not that, but like there's, even characters like Harvey Bullock, like he's such a iconic Gothamite, but his first appearance is like almost free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if like some of this Gotham stuff like pops off in a different way than it
If
has
this Batman
before,
character really takes off, we are in trouble.
if like a younger generation gets into it and they do something with Bullock that they like, he's always kind of been like oh, there he is in the background kind of guy. But James Gunn's the type that really digs his heels in on these like side characters with a lot of personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, go get yourself your $10 Harvey Bullock first appearance while you can, because if I can tell you what, if Harvey Bullock was a Marvel character, that would be $100 comic book. But since
Yeah,
it's
easy.
DC, who has a much longer tenured history and a worse history with movies in recent years, like these comics seem dirt cheap to a Marvelite who's used to paying like a crazy premium.
You stupid
key
Marvelite.
So I've got my eye on a handful of issues. I picked up my Big Barda first appearance like right before they announced the Miracle Man show. So like I feel great about that. I got my Booster Gold first appearance right before they announced that that was going to be something going into production. So some of these things I've bought recently have just been like right at the finish line. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on a Zatanna first appearance.
It's a good one to
Oh,
get.
I think
I'm
that's
gonna-
a smart move because James Gunn's gonna use her a
For
lot,
sure.
probably.
And I'm only going to be able to afford like a 3.5 or something, but still I want it in the collection. Low grade is better than no grade, as they say.
That's a fucking t-shirt.
Yeah.
Low grade's better than no grade.
Do you guys want to talk about some first issue comic books?
Hell yeah.
Yay!
Can I have a weird Segui?
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, I was listening to Outcast today, and they have the AT Alien moniker, right? So I was trying to think of something for like Kansas City that was like alien related, and I thought of extraterrestrial, Midwestrial.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, into comic books.
You
Okay.
got it, buddy.
Sure. Did you guys pound the paper pavement?
Oof.
Another
Oh, yeah.
term I've just made up.
Midwestrial.
I think all 3 of us read Captain America.
Yeah, do we want to talk about that first? That's the
Yeah.
headliner.
That's the big meaty burger of the week.
Wait, who did this cover? Do you guys know?
Yeah, I looked it up. It's the
The initials look like BH or something.
hang on.
It looks like an Alex Ross cover, but it's not. It's like not quite
It's
Alex
not
Rossi.
It's not Ross. Hang
In any
on.
case, while Vargas is looking that up, we've got
Ben
Chips.
Ben
Oh.
Harvey.
Ben Harvey. What up, Ben Harvey? Shout out from
Shout out
the
to
First Issue
BH.
Club. Your cover is great. I also like that the logo is in this seafoam greenish
Mm-hmm.
kind of color. That looks sick.
Yeah, it makes it pop like a
It seems
like a
very
foiling or something.
it seems like super vintage and like it's like used to have bright colors but faded to this like weird green gray. Just has a really nice aesthetic, I think. But yeah, Chip Zdarsky is writing this one with Valerio Schiti on art, which like what a team. Chip has had an unbelievable go at it this past like 5-10 years. Writing Spectacular Spider-Man, Daredevil, Batman, Captain America. I mean, just to name a handful, like some of the biggest titles in comics you can get your
And not to mention
dang
his indie
hands
stuff.
on. Right, yeah, his indie stuff's always fantastic and is like immediately fodder for does it become a television show kind of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So one of our easy to say one of our favorite writers, one of the coolest guys you can talk to and meet at a con, does amazing remarks for a very affordable price, which is super super fun, and really it's getting more and more rare at cons. So we love guys like this who do cool stuff for the comic book community. Like his newsletter he does too. If you haven't read a Chip Zdarsky
Oh my god, the funniest
newsletter,
thing.
try to find one of those. But this book is interesting. I've kind of got questions for you guys because it was a little hard for me to like get my bearing as
Mhm.
to like what exactly was going on and like what timeline this existed in,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't exactly fit into what we know as Marvel's 616 continuity.
Yeah, so
Is that right? Or are we kind of like rewriting that continuity to say, hey, there's this little period in time that we didn't get a glimpse into between Avengers issue 4 and 5.
well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, so they are, and Marvel does this every once in a while where they
Mhm.
are they've always had a sliding timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe the accepted canon is that the entirety of the Marvel universe has happened in the last 5 to 10 years, always, right?
Bizarre.
So
Aside from Captain America, who was unfrozen up until that 5 to 10 years.
Right,
correct.
yeah.
So like yeah, so like World War II happened in the 40s, yes, but then everything that's happened since then has been the last 5 to 10 years. So,
and so
like,
from 1940 to 1985, nothing happened. Everything was fine.
oh well, I mean, but that's kind of the whole thing, right? So
Yeah,
like,
I know, yeah.
like Tony Stark originally got injured in Vietnam, right?
Mhm.
Like that's
Yeah.
how he got the shrapnel in his chest. But in current continuity, he got injured in Afghanistan or Iraq or something, right? So Marvel is doing that again here, where Cap got unfrozen basically on 9/11.
Yes, right.
So they're just readjusting that sliding timeline again.
So I thought it, like when I was reading this, I was like, okay, there's two stories happening
Mhm.
on different timelines, and then at the end of it, you realize that the story that I thought was happening in the future, or I guess closer to present day anyway, was actually like right after the events of 9/11, and follow this like new character who is like the newest member or the newest recipient of our super soldier serum.
Yeah.
So this is like Avengers issue 4 happens in the original Avengers run in 1963 or whatever year it was. And immediately, instead of going to issue number 5 in Avengers, Captain America has a little side quest where he joins back up with the military instead of joining the Avengers, and goes into Latveria to stop like another potential would-be Hitler, with aided by another kid whose story kind of parallels his, that he's too much of like a pipsqueak to get into the military, but sneaks his way in past like screening and then gets identified as someone who has like a really bold will and character, and that qualifies him for this kind of like super soldier project. Really interesting dynamic, and they definitely tell it in a way where you could easily perceive that like one of these stories is happening in like the 70s and another one is happening in like the early 2000s, when in reality they're all happening at the same time. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Threw me for a loop.
Yeah, it I was also unsure of the timeline until
The end of the book there.
well, yeah, basically the end of the book. Or like,
Yeah.
I mean, the nice part was that they kept throwing you nuggets like, you know, Captain America's been unfrozen for 2 weeks or something, and they like
Yep.
to explicitly make those remarks. Um and then yeah, at the end of the book, obviously you like find out that the kid that we've been following is not actually, well, obviously he's not a kid, he's in the military, but he's like,
Yep.
yeah, the recipient of a super soldier serum and active in the same timeline we've been following Captain America in.
Do you think Chip Zdarsky's entire Captain America run is going to take place like in the early 2000s?
Probably.
I don't know, maybe. I kind
It's
of
an
like
easy
that
way to
idea.
avoid like continuity stuff.
Yeah, for
he
sure.
he can just do a lot of stuff that happened in like on the sidelines of the other comics that are like supposedly taking place during this timeline.
Yeah.
Yep.
So bizarre to like try to rectify this with like the death of Captain America, which is like overlapping in a period of time. The whole sliding scale idea is very bizarre to me.
Yeah.
I'll say the subtitle of the comic is Our Secret Wars,
Yeah.
which I don't think is supposed to be tied to Secret Wars proper as like the big MCU event or anything. It's more saying that Captain America had these like like little
Basically
silent
classified missions.
espionage classified missions, yeah, that were like the scope of like huge political things happening that the rest of society just isn't privy to.
Yeah.
Which is again kind of an interesting way to get away with like, hey, here's all this Captain America continuity that happened in the past that you're not aware of. And I'm already really interested in like what this means for some other Marvel history stuff and how they rectify like this new character and super soldier that they're introducing. Did they kill him? And that's how we explain why we've never met him before in the subsequent, 20 years that have occurred since then. Or do they like, or does that character go into hiding and then they take this book back up to the present day and introduce this character again as like now he's part of the Avengers?
I
Go ahead.
I read this character, this kid, as sort of a dark mirror to Captain America. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that his origin story is seeing the Twin Towers get hit, as opposed to Steve Rogers' origin of wanting to help the people, like it's that sort of like two sides of the same coin kind of thing, where
Yeah.
like, but for the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah.
And I see this as more of like a John Walker, but
Kind of origin.
yeah, you can't use John Walker because he's kind of a good guy now. But
There's a very nuanced approach to who this character is and why they're enlisting.
yeah,
And there is a scene with this character's mother that's really great, where you learn that he had a brother
yeah,
that like died in Desert Storm
In Kuwait.
or Oh, in Kuwait. Okay, and then
which was Desert Storm. That I was just splitting hairs there for no reason.
yeah, and then what was I gonna say? Um, and then talks about like, why are you joining up? Is it like there's a lot of this that's surrounded by like hate and revenge,
Right.
but none of that is gonna none of this is gonna free or liberate more people, right? Like this is all like revenge. Like this is all revenge. Nothing is happening that's gonna fix
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that happened to us on American soil. That like this was the act of few, not something that demands retaliation on like a whole other part of the world. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I, it's done much more eloquently than I could have explained it on this podcast, but but it read really well, and it does leave you to believe like, is there a little bit of a morality play here, and does Steve Rogers shepherd this character into like becoming a man and realizing what it means to be a hero, or is it this character continues to kind of like twist that, you know, fear and hatred a bit? Like both books could be really interesting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes there are some characters that I'm like, oh, I love this gritty stuff. Like with Daredevil, like it's fun to see the gritty stuff sometimes, and but sometimes with my like Superman and Captain America, I'm like, let's keep these like a little more bouncy. Like
Yeah.
like they are dressed so absurdly that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they kind of like the tonality of them is just like a different expectation for me. So like it would be a nice kind of inspiring one to be like, this is what it means to be a hero, and we kick some bad guy ass together. But this could also easily go the dark gritty route, and I'm not saying that would be a bad comic. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
not normally what I like, the heaviness I perceive from Captain America.
I don't know why I can't shake this, but this feels like it's not canon 616. This feels like it's rooted in Chip's earlier Captain America run, where like he's
Avengers
old man
Twilight.
Captain America, Avengers Twilight. Like
Yeah.
even like the cover is like still like, I don't know if Ben Harvey did the covers for those too, and that's what's throwing me off. Because it's like
Maybe.
this book is supposed to be the first encounter with Captain America and Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
And to have that take place in 2001, it's just like that destroys so much history. That's like,
It's weird, isn't it?
It doesn't make sense. And like, I know the sliding timeline, and I'm not here to split hairs or like, you know, say that the timeline needs to be rigid or stick to a certain thing, but it's just like, is it this? Like, it might be more fun for it to be an extension of Avengers Twilight, the thing that Chip made himself. And I'm with you guys. I'm kind of along for the ride because this book kind of blew me away about how nonchalant Steve is about being Captain America and how he's just a soldier who signed up to be a soldier, and like he's just kind of like downplaying his like major role in all this. And Chip is just like so good with that stuff anyway. It's, I don't know.
One thing I'll say is that if you know someone who's primarily been an MCU fan who has been wanting to get into comic books,
Mm-hmm.
this, I couldn't give you a better jumping on point.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've read a more accessible Marvel comic that was like one of these legacy books that goes past like issue 500 or something.
Mm-hmm.
This is Captain America 772.
Yeah.
And I mean it read like a complete reboot.
Yeah. It's basically Captain America 101.
Yes.
Can I give you guys what I think is going to happen in this book?
Would love
Yes,
it.
Andy, please.
So first of all, I want everybody to keep in mind that this is Captain America being written by a Canadian, which is incredibly interesting to me
Mm-hmm.
because this is a literal outsider's perspective of what not only this character is, but what he means for our country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my gut feeling is that we're going to get basically a boomer versus Gen X story and have this new Captain America kid like get to the point where he wants to kill Doctor Doom and Steve saves Doctor Doom, and then we're going to have a flash forward story that takes place in 2025 as the second
Oh, that's fantastic.
like
Where like Earth is under fascist
yeah.
rule of Doctor Doom.
Yeah, and you have this like basically
Yeah.
you've got a George Bush Captain America, the 9/11 Captain America
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
is like in
That
Trump's
is
America.
pretty fucking smart, Andy.
Like that's what I see this book being.
Because it is funny
is-
because Steve Rogers was born out of like a duty to protect. And
Right.
that's why he is like Captain America. And this new Captain America is basically born out of like revenge and wanting to destroy because everything was destroyed around him.
Well, and you think about, not to get like too into the politics, but like outside of Ronald Reagan,
Mhm.
9/11 was like the impetus of where our country is now. So to have a Captain America that is born out of
Who
that,
believes in the big beautiful bill?
all of that stuff. I mean, I think that's what's going to happen in this book.
Yeah.
Is we're going to get Trump Captain America. And it's going to be really interesting because, again, it's written by somebody who's got a completely different perspective of what our country is and what these characters are and all that stuff. So I could be totally wrong, but that's how I perceived this book.
When you saying a Trump Captain America, you're referring to the young guy.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
like we're gonna get this
like Trump's
this whole
version of Captain America. Now,
Is
Yeah.
the young super soldier not actually a Captain America, but he's like a young super soldier?
Well, I
he's
think
wearing the shield.
yeah, he's got the shield. Like
Oh, does he have a Captain America shield?
yeah,
I didn't catch that.
that's
Yeah,
the last page.
when he's looking
So-
at Saddam Hussein's statue being
Pulled down.
Yeah.
pulled down, he's got the
He
orange hair and the shield on his back.
He has the cap shield on his back. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can
So
assume
He becomes a Captain
he becomes a
America.
super
Yeah.
soldier in like the newest version of Captain America. So yeah.
and it's really interesting because if you know the history of Captain America, Marvel retconned including Cap in all these stories where different folks took up the shield while Cap was frozen. So my
Yeah.
guess is they're going to tack this guy on to the end
Mm-hmm.
where you've got, a 50s Cap and a 60s Cap, 70s, right? He's just the most recent guy
Yeah.
Mhm.
who was like the Gulf War Captain America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is that like team up book of like the 5 different Captain Americas.
Yeah.
Interesting. There is like I kind of get that like this is the purpose of Captain America to put like a mirror up to where we are as a country and where our ideals should be. But there's also a part of me that's like, I get so much of this bullshit
Yeah.
and like everywhere else in my life that my escapism and fantasy, like I just need a break sometimes.
Yeah. I
Like-
100%
I don't-
agree.
I don't know if I can take another thought piece on like the state of the country right now, like via superheroes. Like it is very clever, and people do a lot of different modern spins on it, and it has something to say, and it validates being said. being the pop culture icon that Captain America is as a character, but
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
I'm
I just need a breather from like all of society. And
I'm with you, Mike, but I trust Zdarsky enough as a writer to
yeah,
like
he's great.
give it. I will read every issue of this. You know.
Yeah. And we're just supposing, we're speculating a bunch of different ways it could go. It's there's a chance that we're really overblowing
Totally. Yeah.
what we think this book is trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
there's,
sure.
there's a
It-
chance you
it
could
may-
be wrong. We're
It
not.
may just be doing dumb fun superhero stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and maybe there's just going to be 2 Captain Americas, and they're both equally awesome,
And they're after Doctor Doom, and that's fun.
and then they kiss.
Just one has red hair. No big deal. I think we're to assume that Bucky shows up.
I don't know, man.
Well-
This is before Winter Soldier stuff.
This is before Winter Soldier stuff. So yeah, so Steve Rogers believes Bucky is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And we'll find in the next, if we're condensing everything from the last however many years into the last 10 years, then he'll find out in
Like 3 weeks.
yeah, pretty imminently, I guess.
Oh man. So I think you put it right, Mike. That Captain America #1 is an incredible #1 issue, an incredible jumping on point for the Star Spangled Avenger.
Yeah.
Excellent. What else did you
Bravo.
read, Mike?
I read 2 Image comics.
Do tell.
Okay.
Do go on.
You guys like the Hyde Street stuff, right?
Yep.
I haven't read any of it yet.
You haven't? Okay.
I have. It's
This
pretty
is a-
fun.
This is a Hyde Street spin-off book called Sisterhood,
Mhm.
which is just kind of like Hyde Street stuff is just a kind of little family of horror comics that may have some continuity and characters tied together, and they may not. But it's just a little imprint that lets people play around with this kind of like format.
Oh, that's the Ghost Machine stuff, right?
Yes.
The Jeff
yeah,
Johns.
but it's
and
Jeff
Gary
Johns.
Frank.
It's like his
Yeah.
horror imprint stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not really
okay.
tied to like the Rook or any
Yeah,
of that
it's not in
stuff.
the same timeline or universe or whatever, but
It's kind of like
it
a
is them, right?
Twilight Zone horror thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great way to put it. But this one's called Sisterhood, and
It's
it's
before they
basic
get their traveling pants.
yeah, that's right. What this poses a world wherein the traveling pants were never purchased at the thrift store.
Eerie.
Yeah,
What a
it's
horror.
Not a world I want to live in.
exactly right. So, a stark, terrifying tale. No, this book is about a couple girls who grow up together, face a lot of tragedy through their upbringing, and then ultimately end up going to college and rooming together, and kind of have this chance to like strike out on their own, create their own names and their own paths, blah blah blah. It's like a very like lovey-dovey thing about women and friendship and what it means to be a sister. And then one of the girls joins a sorority, whereas one of the other girls is like, nah, not for me. And dies while getting hazed.
Hell yeah.
And through some magic means by this fortune teller lady, is like her spirit is brought back, and her spirit and her friend who she grew up with kind of conspire to take down the girls at the sorority who killed her.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds
Yeah,
very
it's-
EC Comics.
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Very EC Comics, very just like off the wall situation to just have like a lot of over the top gore and goofball revenge stuff with like just the right amount of like magic and stakes to get
Yeah.
you interested in it.
Yeah, it sounds like a VHS movie from like 1987.
Totally.
I love it.
Totally. Yeah. And then I read I don't know how to pronounce this. Gehenna
Yeah. Sure.
by Patrick Clendon
Gehenna
and Rosenweg. Really fun book. I think this is a 5-issue mini, but it is about a woman whose family was torn apart by the mob, that her husband was like a bouncer at a club and accidentally got tangled up in a mob fight, right? And the mob ends up taking him out, and so she resolves herself to get revenge on the mob, and she's slowly working her way through everybody, and ends up at this big mob boss's estate. He's not there, so she kidnaps his kid, who I think the kid is going to end up being kind of like an almost sidekick character who kind of resents his father and is finding some kind of connection, or um I guess a mentor type that he'd always desired in this woman, is kind of what I'm getting from it. So she's on the run, and then we've got a badass lady cop, great comic book trope to have another lady cop in there. And lady cop is trying to figure out what the connection is between all these mob related hits and what has happened to this kid, things like that. So this will be the whole first issue was on the run, her with the kid, crazy John Wick style, fast-paced action, and then cutting back to this cop trying to put the pieces together and stay on the trail of this lady. So at some point they'll catch up and have a really fun sequence, I'm sure. But fun, fast-paced, easy to enjoy action comic, with again, another taste of revenge kind of story that's really fun.
Gotta love it.
Yep. Badass lady. Big old
I love that cover. The
handguns.
artwork is very
Hell yeah.
striking.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Heck yeah. So 3 great first issues. Obviously, Cap was the meat and potatoes there, but the indies this week were, I think, really, really light and fun.
I've got one more.
Please. Tell me more. Tell me more.
I think it's from 2 weeks ago, the episode that you did by yourself, but it was so good I have to talk about it. I read Don't Forget Your Briefcase from
Oh, yeah.
Mad Cave. Did you talk about this, Mike?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Or, yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, I won't go into a lot of detail, but it was a crazy book. I had no idea where it was going to go, and it got to the end, and the twist was just awesome. I loved this thing.
Yep.
And Mad Cave is just absolutely killing it this year. They are just having it's July, and they are having a hell of a year already. They could release nothing else and still pretty much be on the top.
I love it.
It's good shit. I would absolutely recommend Don't Forget Your Briefcase.
Yeah, that was wild. For anyone who missed the first issue the first time we kind of talked about it, it's basically a misunderstanding where the nuclear football accidentally gets exchanged with the different briefcase.
Yeah. But there's another there's a twist on top of it that really sells it. It's
the scene where the mix-up happens is bonkers.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and then the last page reveal was awesome too. They didn't telegraph it at all, and it just made it so awesome.
Yeah.
Good shit.
I love it. Did you guys read I'm spacing on the name of it, but there was a comic about this woman who is a lawyer, and she sees a police officer who killed a black man in cold blood get exonerated and set free.
With Bitchcraft?
No. And she's like, I've had enough. And her 3 friends train
Yeah.
Oh,
and
That's what
they
that is.
chose violence.
they
They
chose,
chose
violence
Yeah.
and go on like a rampage. We might have covered that in an episode a couple weeks back, or we might have missed that week,
Mm-hmm.
but that book was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of blogs and different outlets pick it up because there's, stuff like that is always fodder for
Mm-hmm.
controversy and discussion. And but another just like crazy revenge fantasy sort of comic that like escalates so fast and was just such a wild comic.
Well, so the editor for AWA is Axel Alonso, right? And who was like
Yes.
the Marvel editor for decades. And his opening letter for the book was just like, I got this pitch and I thought I knew where this book was going. And by the end of it, I was completely wrong on like 4 different things. So he's just like, this book kind of blew me away. Mark Waid did a blog post about it saying that it should be an Eisner winner just from the first issue. And,
That
even
tracks
the letters.
for Mark
Hmm?
Waid. That tracks for Mark Waid.
Yeah. But like the book was good. And like the letters at the end of it from the author was just like, this book isn't about, a gratuitous thought piece of like violence and exploring like these like derogative and kind of like impulsive things. It's just like an exercise of just like what happens when someone just completely lets go and just like indulges in all those evil thoughts of like when injustice happens, you want to treat injustice with injustice. What does that exactly look like? And that's what this book is going to be about, which kind of broke my brain of just like, oh fuck, like, okay, like let's see you explore this, and I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Right on. Is that an episode? Did we just record a podcast?
I think we did.
I think we did.
Okay, great. Well, everything you need to know is in the outro.
Yeah. Oh, and I do want to mention for people that live in the Kansas City area, in August, we will be appearing at the Elite Comic Summer Jam. It's their comic book convention at the Overland Park Convention Center. We'll be there. It is a great show put on by a great comic book shop that we support. And best of all, it's free. So if you're around, go check it out.
You're here.
Hell
We'll
yeah.
see you there.
Now we get into the episode.
Bye. First Issue Club podcast is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, the people responsible for our favorite drinks, the Space Camper Cosmic IPA family of beers. Our show is edited and produced by our hosts Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtig, and Andy Vargas. You can find us on social media at First Issue Club, and you can join the supporters who keep our humble podcast going on our Patreon at patreon.com/firstissueclub.